Okay guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be covering another Scientology from a Scientologist perspective. We're going to be covering some court issues facing Scientology. So stay tuned to find out what they've got going on behind that nice, weird looking cross now. Okay guys, so welcome back, and I have two articles set in front of me and I'm really having a hard time figuring out which one I'm going to cover first because both of these are quite interesting. But I think I'm going to start off with this first article covering the Garcia case. If you don't remember that case, maybe a month ago, not quite sure. I handle so many Scientology problems that it gets hard to figure out when I filmed this, but the Garcias are suing Scientology because they're saying Scientology defrauded them out of, I think, around a couple of $100,000, somewhere in that ballpark, for different projects that they are saying either never were done or the money was used for things that they were told otherwise. And they are wanting their money back. Scientology is going through their normal hoops and everything to try not to pay back this money. So, I think I'm going to start with this article. It is titled, Scientology's Answer to Garcia's Appeal Sets a New Record in Cynicism and Legal Depravity. This was written by Tony Ortega. It's posted on the Underground Bunker, and it was posted on July 3rd, 2019. So, let's start off with the basics here. So, Scientology, inside and outside of the church, is one entity. You know, everybody knows that. No matter what you're talking about, it's all Scientology. And it's all under David Miscavige. David Miscavige is the shot caller. He's the one in charge. Everything goes through him. It doesn't matter what his official title is, he's the one pulling those puppet strings. Well, that position is changed as soon as there's a legal action against the church. And that has become abundantly clear now with the Garcia case. So now the church is stating that they are all individual companies and initiatives that are independent but run by Sea Org members. So, if that is true, and all of these are independent companies and they're all independent initiatives but they're run by Sea Org members, where's your taxes? Because the only thing that is tax exempt is the Church of Scientology, which means all your independent companies and initiatives are not tax exempt, which means you owe a shit ton in taxes. So, the only way you can be covered under that tax exempt status is if you are interconnected and under that great umbrella of the Church of Scientology. So, here's what's going on. The Garcias filed their lawsuit, Church of Scientology, Flag Service Organization, and the Church of Scientology Flagship Services. So, Flagship Service Organization, after this point, is going to be labeled as FSO. And Church of Scientology Flagship Services Organization is going to be labeled FSSO, if that could not get more confusing, are claiming to have no parent company or subsidiaries. So FSO and FSSO are claiming that they are independent, they are companies, they have no parent organization or subsidiaries, thus they are independent, standing on their own, and report to and are covered by no one. But they have the Church of Scientology in their name. And if there's no parent company, and you're not part of the Church of Scientology, you do not have tax exempt status. So, for all these years that you've been not paying taxes, so since 1992 until 2019, you owe a buttload of taxes, my brothers. So, Luis and Garcia, I'm butchering names because I suck at that. Garcia's lawsuit was filed in 2013, where they alleged that after 28 years in the church, they realized that they were being defrauded by FSO and FSSO and 3 other Scientology alphabet soup agencies. Okay? Now, they filed that lawsuit in Florida with the court in Florida because that's where Flag is. Garcia's live in California. Now, the first thing that got pulled, so they filed it with the federal court in Florida because they donated the money to Scientology's Flagland base ran by FSO for the Superpower Project, which ultimately was named the Flag Building, that was opened in 2013 in Clearwater. So Scientology's first legal strategy was to attack the legal team and try to get them disqualified, which is one of their first attacks. If you file a lawsuit against Scientology, they go after your legal team. Then the church attempted to attack the legality of them claiming in Florida, since 3 of the 5 entities are not based out of Florida. So the Garcias dropped their lawsuits against 3 of the entities because their big money was spent with FSO and FSSO. So the judge, which is District Court Judge James D. Whitmore, allowed the Garcias to amend their claim and just file against FSO and FSSO and drop the other 3. So, with all of that being stated, Scientology's third attack, now their first 2 have failed, so here comes attack number 3. They argued that the Garcias signed a contract promising to bring any disputes to an internal religious arbitration, thus making the lawsuit null and void because the court should not be involved in the church affairs. So the Garcias countered this point by bringing Mike Rinder and Marty Rathbun both to testify about how the arbitration is a sham and there's actually no arbitration and it's to keep people from getting their money back. The church even admitted in its entire history of never holding an internal arbitration. So, the Garcias were like, okay, you want to pull this card? Well, here are 2 people that were in high-ranking positions with your organization that can completely blow that straight out of the water. Enter Rinder and Rathbun. And they both said it's a complete sham. It's just to keep people from getting their money back. We've never done it. The Church of Scientology even said, yeah, we've never done that. We've never done that. So Judge Whitmore held up to that third counter, and he ruled that that a contract is a contract, and he made the Garcias file an internal arbitration with Scientology, which they did. The Garcias did file an arbitration with Scientology, and this is how it works. So, an arbitration panel is 3 Scientologists in good standing with the church. Here's the problem. The Garcias are not in good standing with the church because, one, they're not in Scientology anymore. Two, they sued Scientology, which is huge. That's high crimes against Scientology. You don't do that. You don't bring in outsiders. You do not file a legal case anywhere. So that's high crimes. Boom. They're way, way, way out on that one. So the panel ordered that the Garcias were to only receive $18,000 back. And this was of like the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they were defrauded of. The Garcias turned that down because they are claiming that this is a kangaroo court. It was complete bunk from the beginning, and they went back to Judge Whitmore. The Garcias have gone back now, claimed that the arbitration was handled, and asked him to vacate it and reactivate their lawsuit. And now the Garcias are appealing the decision to the Federal Appeals Court. So enter Scientology lawyer Eric Lieberman, who responded to Garcia's appeal by praising Whitmore on his ruling, saying the arbitration the Garcias received was not a kangaroo court, but a model of judicial righteousness. And of course, yes, we're a bona fide religion. Why? Okay, let's step back. Of course he's going to justify what the Scientologist did because he is their lawyer. Of course. But when you have to end with, yes, we're a bona fide religion, that just makes everybody side-eye you. Why do you have to end a statement with, yes, we're a bona fide religion? You don't hear the Catholics when they're brought into court going, but we're a bona fide religion. You don't hear that from any other religious organization. That's just like, the three card Monte dealer, like on the street corner going, yes, this is a bona fide game. Because that's not that a scammer is going to say, this is totally legit, to cover the scam. Scientology has gone back they're going back to attack the Garcia's right to sue Scientology in Florida. They've praised Whitmore on the end, and then on the other saying that he screwed up for allowing them to amend in the first place. So they're saying he was wonderful in making them bring it to us for arbitration, but he should have never let them amend it in the first place and take off these first three organizations. He should have just struck it then, and they would have never had a case. And so Scientology is trying to push for the entire appeal to be pushed out. So at this point, that is where the Garcia appeal stands, and we're just waiting to hear what the Federal Court of Appeals has to say. And the whole entire legal document is on the bottom of Tony Ortega's article. If you choose to read it, that article is going to be linked in the description box down below. Now, let's move on to the second article, because this one makes me laugh. What did I knock over? I don't know what I knocked over. Okay. So, we've covered the Garcia case in the beginning and now this appeal. A couple of videos ago, I covered the whole thing with Masterson and the 4 rape victims that are not only suing Masterson, but the Church of Scientology, and they are suing David Miscavige. So, let's read the title of this article. Has Scientology's leader David Miscavige gone underground in the face of legal onslaught? This is written by Tony Ortega. It's also posted on the Underground Bunker, and he posted this article on August 21st, 2019. So let's read the disclaimer. What you're about to read is your proprietor's speculation and nothing more than that. We're trying to read the tea leaves here, and we reserve the right to be completely and utterly wrong about everything in this post. So with that said, we beg your patience as we spin a yarn about what that might, and we stress might, be happening in Scientology's highest reaches. Now, with all that said, yes, all of this is speculation. This is an article completely based on speculation, but you have to think this is an article based off speculation, based off the facts that Scientology is facing at this time, and based off of David Miscavige's own paranoia. So, Scientology has had some recent changes, and the bunker correspondents have been out. So, the Underground Bunker has a lot of people that bring in information, they compile information. There's some other people that write for the bunker, all kinds of stuff. Some of the people are anonymous, and that's because they may still be in Scientology, on the fringe of Scientology, whatever. But here's the thing. First, an LA helper reported last month there was an unusual attention in the maiden voyage celebration, and out of nowhere, a couple of conventions were scheduled overnight. So here's the thing. The maiden voyage celebration is something they do every year. All of a sudden, it was canceled. Now these conventions were scheduled overnight. These conventions seem to be held in other locations as well: Sydney, Toronto, and Mexico City. The convention stressed unity, and attendees were seen wearing t-shirts with the slogan, "Doing it simultaneously." So then Rod Keller, who is another writer for Underground Bunker, and I've covered some of his articles throughout some of my Scientologist from a Scientologist perspective videos, decrypted the code. Scientology is changing the ideal org strategy. So let's cover the ideal org strategy in a brief. So David Miscavige is talking about releasing OT9 and OT10, which, if you've paid attention at any point in time, OT levels go up to 8. They've been talking about releasing OT9 and OT10 because I think it's supposed to go up to like OT18. OT9 and OT10 have supposed to have been released since like the early 90s. We're in 2019 and we've never seen OT9 or OT10 roll out. There have been several different programs about bringing out OT9 and OT10, and now David Miscavige's new program for bringing out OT9 and OT10 is to get all orgs up to ideal org status, which are these massive buildings that have to be specific specs, be upgraded to specific specs, have all this fancy stuff in them for them to set pretty much empty, and because nobody is there and they're not bringing in any money, most of the time cannot have the air conditioner running or lights on in certain rooms or things of that nature because they can't afford the utility bills. All of this is funded by the Scientologists in that org to do all of this stuff. The Scientologists from that org do not own that building. It is signed over to the Church of Scientology, and they still end up having to pay rent on that building every single month, along with all the bills for that building every single month. Now, he is saying once all of the orgs are at ideal org status, he will reveal OT9 and OT10. He is saying that because it's never going to happen, and that way he can stretch out the fact that OT9 and OT10 do not exist. But anyway, so Scientology is changing the ideal org strategy. Instead of opening a new ideal org one at a time with a few each year, the new strategy is to convert all the remaining orgs into ideal org simultaneously. You may be going, but why would he do that? That will be revealed soon. So, sorry, dying. Okay. So, beginning of 2003, Scientology leader David Miscavige put an enormous pressure on his followers to raise millions of dollars to convert Class 5 orgs in each of the large cities, parts of Europe and Asia and Latin America into ideal orgs. This comes up to about $15 to $20 million is being spent on each ideal org project. And over the last 16 years, Scientology has held grand opening ceremonies for 61 of the gleaming new cathedrals. These ideal orgs replaced earlier churches, so they don't really represent expansion, even though that's what Scientology claims. Even with 61 orgs opening since 2003, there are still 75 more Class 5 orgs that have yet to be converted. With 2 to 4 converted each year, the program could go on for decades. But now Miscavige suddenly wants the money to be raised, not for a few targeted locations, but for all 75 so they can be converted at the same time. Okay, so why? The Scientologists at these conventions learning about the new plan naturally reacted with joy, as if this was the greatest thing ever. So, what's going on? So the conventions are about this accelerated new plan. Seems kind of fishy though. Claiming that the rest of the orgs will go to ideal org at the same time is another way of saying the ideal program has been put on hold. Think about it. You have to wait for all of these different Class 5 orgs to raise $15 to $20 million to upgrade to ideal org status. That is effectively putting this program on hold until all of those can go on. Just like I said, from 2003 till now, they've only been able to do 61. So now let's look at some more stats. 2 orgs have completed renovations in Kansas City, Missouri and Columbus, Ohio, but no grand opening ceremonies have been done. Other construction is underway. No new openings have happened though. Nothing. Usually, they complete a project, grand opening. Complete a project, grand opening. Complete a project, grand opening. It's big pomp and circumstances because they fly in people, they make it look huge so that they can say, look, we're the fastest growing religion ever. They fly out all the people, the building sits empty. For months, a national legal team has been preparing a series of major lawsuits against the Church of Scientology. So let's look at those. First, you have Valerie Haney, who is Leah Remini's assistant. She was the first on June 18th. The lawsuit has been in the works for a long time, and that is a big one. Now, let's look at this. Kansas City, Missouri's ideal org was originally supposed to be open and April and has been ready to be opened since April, but has been put on hold because everybody knew that Valerie Haney's lawsuit was coming down. With all the evidence laid out in place, with all the evidence laid out and placing things on hold is a way for Miscavige not to make a public appearance. Because every grand opening, Miscavige is there. He's in person. He's there. Everything. Because he's up there doing the grand speeches and the cutting of the ribbon and the whole hoop-ha, yay, woo, go Scientology. But Miscavige also knows that if he's out in the open, that opens himself up to being served in public with legal papers. Especially in Haney's case, because Miscavige is going to be subpoenaed in Haney's case. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that one. Because she was Miscavige's she worked in Miscavige's private quarters. Haney blames Miscavige personally for making it impossible for her to leave Scientology. And she had to escape from Int Base in like one of the most like Mission Impossible kind of ways. Another lawsuit was filed right before this article was released, and that was the Danny Masterson rape case. He is personally named in that lawsuit. That's another case where he's going to be subpoenaed. So, you have Valerie Haney, who is naming him in her lawsuit. You have the Danny Masterson case, where those 4 victims are naming him personally in that lawsuit. He does not want to step off of Int Base because they can serve him. Boom, you've been served. He does not want to show his face in public. So even though this is an article of just like big maybes and we're kind of throwing out some like wild ideas, think about it. Every other ideal org that has been finished, boom, right afterwards they're doing this massive grand opening, they're flying people in, they're closing off streets, they're doing the whole 9 yards. You've got 2 sitting there right now, and 1 that has been finished since April, and it is September, and they still haven't done it. Come on now. It's not that hard to figure out. So, Tom DeVach, who is an ex-Scientologist, who was also up there, kind of high in Scientology, stated that Miscavige is going to turn this legal setback into the greatest thing ever by having all orgs go ideal at the same time. And that's one of Miscavige's things, is like, he always makes it seem like the best thing ever. But to tell you the truth, I really don't see how he's going to turn this pile of shit into a dozen roses. Because if you look at it right now, Valerie Haney knows more about Miscavige on the private side than most people. The only other person would be Shelley, and since nobody can lay eyes on Shelley and hasn't seen Shelley in years, Valerie's the next best thing. That's going to be a shit show. Right after that, you have 4 women that are saying that this celebrity golden boy was extraordinarily violent and raped them, and did so under the guise of Scientology, with Scientology knowing about it and doing nothing about it. Yeah, that's not something that's going to be easily hidden. So I'm not quite sure how he's going to be able to spin this one, to tell you the truth. So this is again one of those episodes where I'm going to be like, hey, U.S. government, what you going to do? And then if you look back at the Garcia case, you have Scientology organizations stating that they are not a part of the church. Hey IRS, what you gonna do? Just asking. Like to know. Anyway guys, that's gonna do it for this episode. Let me know down in the comment section what you think about both of these articles and what are your suspicions about what Miscavige is doing about this. Give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't, ring that bell, and in the description box down below you'll find a link to both of these articles. Also you'll find my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and email. If you have something you want me to cover on Scientology, send it to one of those platforms, and if I use your information, I'll shout you out in that video. That's going to do it for today, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.